Corruption, in its simplest form, is the dishonest or fraudulent conduct by those in power, typically involving bribery. It is the misuse of a public office or a position of authority for personal gain. Imagine you are in a long queue, waiting patiently for your turn to get an official document. Suddenly, someone walks past everyone, discreetly hands some money to the official behind the counter, and gets their work done in minutes. That is a small, yet potent, example of corruption. It is an act that breaks the rules of fairness and equality, creating a system where integrity is sold to the highest bidder. This unfair advantage undermines the very fabric of a just society, telling honest citizens that their patience and adherence to the law are of little value. This problem is not always about grand schemes or massive scandals that make headlines. It often lurks in the mundane corners of everyday life. It could be a traffic policeman overlooking a violation for a small sum of money, or a clerk in a government office demanding a fee to process a file that should be handled as a matter of routine service. It might even be a business person offering a gift to a politician to win a contract, thereby sidelining more deserving competitors. These seemingly minor transactions, when multiplied across a nation of over 1 billion people, accumulate into a colossal challenge. They create an environment where shortcuts are rewarded and ethical conduct is penalized, poisoning the trust between the people and the institutions meant to serve them. The act of corruption essentially creates two sets of rules, one for those who are willing and able to pay bribes, and another for everyone else. This fundamentally distorts the principle of equal opportunity. For instance, a talented student might be denied a place at a university because another, less qualified candidate secured admission through an illicit payment. A small business with a superior product might lose a government tender to a larger company that has bribed the decision-makers. In each case, merit is ignored and replaced by deceit. This systemic decay not only affects individuals but also sends a demoralizing message throughout society that honesty and hard work are not the keys to success. Therefore, when we talk about corruption, we are discussing a deeply rooted issue that goes beyond mere financial transactions. It is a betrayal of public trust and a grave injustice. It is the silent erosion of our shared values, where the powerful can bend the system to their will, leaving the ordinary citizen feeling helpless and disenfranchised. Understanding this fundamental breach of fairness is the first critical step towards confronting it. We must recognize these acts not as clever dealings, but as a societal disease that, if left untreated, can cripple the progress and spirit of an entire nation. It is a battle for the soul of our society, and it is a battle that concerns every single one of us. The consequences of corruption are not isolated. They spread like a poison through every vein of the nation, affecting daily life, the economy, and the environment in profound ways. For the average person, it means that basic services become more expensive and less accessible. When a bribe is paid to get a new electricity connection or to have a water pipe fixed, that cost is ultimately borne by the public. It means that roads are built with substandard materials because a portion of the budget has been siphoned off, leading to potholes and accidents. This pervasive culture of graft makes life harder, especially for the poor and marginalized, who cannot afford to pay these extra illegal costs and are left with failing infrastructure and unreliable services. Economically, corruption is a major obstacle to national development. It scares away honest investors, both domestic and international, who are unwilling to navigate a system riddled with demands for bribes. It leads to a colossal waste of public money, as funds intended for schools, hospitals, and infrastructure are diverted into private pockets. According to Transparency International's 2024 Corruption Perceptions Index, released in February 2025, India's rank slipped to 96th out of 180 countries, with a score of just 38 out of 100. This score, which is below the global average, signals a serious problem with public sector integrity and hampers our ability to achieve our full economic potential, keeping millions trapped in poverty. The damage extends to our democracy and our environment. When corruption infiltrates the political system, Leaders are chosen not for their vision or competence, but for their ability to distribute illicit favors. This weakens democratic institutions and erodes public faith in the electoral process. Furthermore, corruption is a grave threat to our natural world. It allows illegal mining operations to destroy forests, polluting industries to flout environmental regulations by bribing inspectors, and precious funds meant for climate action to be stolen. The result is irreversible damage to our ecosystems, threatening our water sources, air quality, and the future sustainability of our planet for generations to come. Ultimately, the most insidious impact of corruption is the normalization of dishonesty. When people see it happening everywhere, from the highest echelons of power to the local government office, a sense of cynicism and helplessness can set in. Many begin to see bribery not as a crime, but as a necessary and unavoidable part of life, the only way to get things done. This acceptance is incredibly dangerous as it perpetuates the cycle. It creates a society where citizens lose hope in the state's ability to function fairly, and where young people grow up believing that unethical behavior is a prerequisite for success. This erosion of moral character is perhaps the deepest and most difficult wound to heal. One significant reason corruption persists is the complex web of complicity that surrounds it. It is not always a case of a powerful official coercing a helpless citizen. Often it involves what can be termed cooperative corruption, where both parties benefit from the illegal act. For example, a business person might willingly offer a bribe to evade taxes or to win a lucrative contract, seeing it as a cost of doing business. In such scenarios, there is no immediate victim raising an alarm. This makes the problem much harder to expose and prosecute, as those involved have a shared interest in keeping the transaction secret. This mutual benefit creates a powerful, silent network that sustains the corrupt ecosystem. This acceptance is further entrenched by a certain disconnect between the citizen and the state. For many, especially in vast rural areas, the government can feel like a distant and abstract entity. They do not always perceive public funds as their money. So when a politician embezzles funds, the sense of personal loss is not always immediate or tangible. It is only when the media or political opponents effectively highlight the direct consequences, such as a promised local hospital not being built, that public anger is ignited. This perception allows corruption to thrive in the shadows, viewed by some as a victimless crime until its devastating impact becomes impossible to ignore. A recent example that brought these issues to the forefront was the case involving the industrialist Gautam Adani. In November 2024, United States authorities charged him with bribery of Indian officials and securities fraud. This case, which made international headlines, highlighted how allegations of high-level corruption can span across borders and involve powerful figures in both business and politics. While the legal proceedings will determine the outcome, the case served as a stark reminder of the deep-seated nexus that can exist between corporate interests and public officials. It demonstrated how such alliances can allegedly be used to manipulate rules and gain an unfair advantage, raising serious questions about governance and accountability at the highest levels. Such high-profile cases often reveal the structural roots of the problem. Decades of economic change have sometimes led to a blurring of lines, where corporate success is equated with national progress. In this climate, accusations against powerful business figures are sometimes deflected by framing them as attacks on the nation itself. This narrative can make it difficult to have an honest public debate about corporate malpractice and its links to political corruption. It underscores the challenge of holding powerful individuals to account when their interests become deeply intertwined with the country's economic and political machinery, creating a system that is resistant to scrutiny and reform. Combating a problem as entrenched as corruption requires a multi-pronged approach, starting with strengthening the very institutions designed to uphold the law. This means ensuring that our judiciary remains fiercely independent, capable of delivering justice without fear or favour. Anti-corruption bodies, like the Central Vigilance Commission and the Lokpal, must be granted genuine autonomy and equipped with the necessary resources and manpower to investigate and prosecute cases effectively, regardless of how powerful the accused may be. Without strong and impartial watchdogs, the rules will only ever apply to the powerless, while the influential continue to act with impunity, making a mockery of our legal framework. Transparency is the greatest enemy of corruption, and technology offers powerful tools to achieve it. Governments can implement open data policies, making information about public spending, government contracts, and procurement processes accessible to all citizens online. When every rupee is tracked and accounted for in the public domain, it becomes much harder for funds to be misappropriated. Equally crucial is the protection of those who risk their safety to expose wrongdoing. We must enact and enforce robust laws to protect whistleblowers and journalists, ensuring they can bring hidden scandals to light without facing threats, harassment, or persecution. They are the sentinels of our democracy. Ultimately, the fight against corruption cannot be won by the government alone. It requires the active participation of its citizens, especially the youth. We must foster a culture of integrity from a young age through civic education in schools and colleges, teaching young people about their rights and the true cost of corruption. Communities can form social audit committees to monitor local projects and demand accountability from their elected representatives. Small acts, when multiplied, create a powerful force for change. Saying no to a small bribe, reporting a corrupt official, using the Right to Information Act to demand answers. These are all steps that reclaim power for the ordinary citizen and build pressure for systemic reform. The path to a corruption-free India is long and challenging, but it is not impossible. Every step taken towards transparency, accountability, and integrity helps build a fairer and more prosperous nation for all. It is about creating a country where a student's future is determined by their merit, not their connections, where a business thrives on the quality of its products, not the size of its bribes, and where public services are a right, not a commodity for sale. By working together, government, communities, and individuals, we can slowly but surely cleanse the system and build an India where honesty is not just a virtue, but the very foundation of our progress.